Michael Knowles was on an episode of the Daily Wire Backstage. That's the one where they smoke cigars, right? And drink brown liquor. This is my favorite.
Loosen their ties.
It's my favorite overcompensation on the right, which is like their need to constantly prove their masculinity by drinking hard liquor and smoking cigars. I feel like there's a version of this with every right-wing show.
Right.
They should wrestle
this is supposed
instead.
to be like the laid-back version of the Daily Wire's usual content, which involves Ben Shapiro going to the movies and
We're just gonna let
the Barbie movie.
We're going to let our personalities breathe, and you're all going to love it.
Yeah, these guys seem like a great hang. They're
Like, remember Best Damn Sports Show, period?
no.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay, never mind. It's Fox Sports Show, and it was just like this kind of setup. Like, I think that's where Jalen Rose got his start, and it's just like guys talking about sports, and it was awesome. And now it's just like talking about trans people.
But that's where this forum of like letting your hair down, or it's like what was it, the show, the barbershop, or the show that LeBron did? What was
I
it
never
called?
saw that.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the shop, or I forget exactly what it was called. Yeah, where I go for my laid back hangout content, I'd go towards sports figures first, not right wing freaks, because this is the kind of stuff that they're talking
No,
about.
I want to hang out with Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, and Matt Walsh while they smoke cigarettes.
I want to spend an hour of my day today watching 40-year-old men smoke cigars and talk about trans-affirming care.
Yeah, we get it, guys. You're men. Here we go.
There are two ways to beat the left. You can either out-argue them or you can outbreed them. And when you want to talk about the next generation of Americans, this is real and happening now, folks. The pro-life movement is scoring all sorts of victories. But did you know the abortion pill accounts for over half of the abortions committed in this country? More than 1,000 preborn children die at the hand of this poison every single day. PreBorn is the organization providing a solution to that devastating situation. Women are being fed the abortion pill and led to believe that it's an easy and safe way to terminate an unwanted pregnancy, or whatever euphemisms they use. But they are not being told the truth about the harmful side effects and, of course, the emotional trauma left behind. This is a heartbreaking reality that needs to be addressed. PreBorn Network clinics are there for these women, offering love, hope, and an abortion reversal pill, thank God, which can save their baby if taken soon enough. But they cannot do this without our help, as all their services are free. For just $28, you can help hurting women and at-risk babies. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/backstage. All gifts are tax deductible. You will never regret saving a child's life. That is pound 250.
Oh, my goodness.
Say baby, that's the code word, or visit preborn.com/backstage. And we're talking about the babies and the sweet babies and the daddy and everything. I know we have to get to this because it's here on my schedule.
It is a charity called PreBorn based in Indianapolis, or it's at least a 501c3. So that means that they can basically politically fundraise, and it's a tax-deductible organization.
Oh my God.
They're doing ads for abortion reversal pills. I have no window into the science behind that, but just something says to me that if they're crowdfunding to get abortions reversed, there's probably not like a ton of medical backing behind the
Did he mean to say bill? Like abortion reversal
pill?
Right. I just don't understand what he means by that.
Of course not. Of course. But this is like a...
That's why you got to call pound 250 and yell baby into the phone.
Right. Right. It's a 501c3, and they're helping with ultrasounds, help preach the gospel, ultrasound sessions, marketing for abortion-minded women, clinical care for women, and continued support for other outreach programs of MPB.
Okay, I figured out what he's talking about here. The abortion pill reversal procedure can only occur after the first dose of medical abortion mifepristone is taken orally and is ineffective after the second set of pills, misoprostol. So, I mean, what an advertisement.
I mean, how many abortion reversals do you think actually happen in the United States?
I mean, really, like that's what the real use of that is, as a propaganda device to say this is a really regretted procedure.
Yeah, right. They're not crowdfunding to actually provide those pills because the pills are most likely rarely ever going to be used. They're crowdfunding for other purposes, for the 501c3 tax exempt purposes that are inherently shadowy because of our Supreme Court. So that's the kind of ads that you get on that show.
Yeah, but I want to play this clip. This is from Fox News. They posted this, and like the whole strategy that we'll just outbreed them ignores the entire sort of situation that people are born into, and how that is, say, not conducive to creating conservatives. Because this is Fox News posted this. This woman completely signifies as a Fox News viewer, and then you actually watch what she's saying, and you say that, well, there's actually something broken here with the deliverance of, well, I guess in her, what this woman says here is the American dream.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world is changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling, and before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled, but there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled, and it was tough, but you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour. And I can afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making six-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the is going on, and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college, or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are one-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy, and then everybody else is just poor.
Now, that's an interesting way she ends it there. David Griscom and I are... Is Bender gone again?
No, I'm right here.
On that? I can't find Thursday. Oh, there it is. In Marx's Communist Manifesto, he says, probably too early, given what he says later in the 18th Brumaire, but that it's all becoming proletarians and capitalists. And that's the problem, and she went on Fox and Friends, and maybe we should find that for tomorrow, what they actually said, but she will not find any satisfaction or solutions on that side of the aisle there. It's very clear what's happening is that capitalists have decided that, we're going to jack up prices on all this stuff. It's not, and again, like, this is not just inflation, like Biden inflation, right? Like, this whole cost of living thing is, like, I think everybody here's entire existence on this planet, like our generations, right? Like the cost of college and university is ridiculous. The cost of, but a big part of college, like of my student loans, the money that I paid out, especially go to NYU, a huge chunk of that went to pay for my rent in New York City. And it's because landlords and capitalists own the housing stock in this country, and they're willing to jack it up before they're willing to buy more and increase demand. So you need to do that with the state. And we have a conspiracy, which is called the real estate industry, which owns politics in basically any municipality and does not want that to happen because they like this woman's son needing six figures for a shitty apartment.
Yeah. And I mean, and that is why you can't, to bring it back to the damn Daily Wire thing, like, we can outbreed them.
No, you can't.
No, you can't, because everyone's experience is going to be like, I don't know. This woman went on Fox and Friends. I don't know what their politics are.
I mean, presumably conservative, but
the experience that you're talking about is universal.
There's only so much Mr. Potato Head and trans athletes that is going to make this woman forget that her kid can't afford a place to live because the rentiers in society are, sucking everyone's blood.
Yeah. But give $140 for a free ultrasound. 80% of these women will choose life when they see ultrasound images of their babies. And the statement says, "We regard your gift as from the Lord Jesus himself."
Yeah,
the Lord Jesus. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know much about this PreBorn ! 503, but the first thing it sounded like was like those crisis pregnancy centers that pretend to be abortion clinics, where women who are struggling or hurting go and think they're getting abortion care, but instead they're shown like ultrasounds and giving sermons about how Jesus will judge them if they go through with it, and then they kind of just like spin their wheels. So I mean, if they are actually providing health care to women, honest and open healthcare that is geared towards keeping children, or rather mothers who need that kind of care but are not afforded it to the state, you think good, but I have a hard time believing it's actually manifesting that way and not some sort of propaganda campaign to shame women from having abortions as opposed to that.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think I would have a ton of faith that that's what's being provided.
It all goes towards buying the cigars that they smoke, obviously.
Nug Wrangler says go ahead.
I was going to say, I lost the connection for a second when we were watching that video, but I looked up the abortion reversal stuff, and it's very, very suspect. Apparently, there was a study a few years back that they canceled the study because 3 women had to be transported to the hospital for treatment for severe vaginal bleeding. It seems like maybe not the best thing. And also the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists have put out a online page basically that gives facts about it, saying that medication abortion reversal is not supported by science. These are the people who won't take the vaccine, but they'll put you up for this sort of experimental stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they've been very clear that the life of the mother is not as important as their values about, her right to choose. So if it causes a little hemorrhaging, well, that's what you get for being pregnant.
Yeah, it's punishment and it's purposeful. Charlie Sheeher says rent's about $2,000 for a shit studio here in Washington State too, and it's causes financial companies, and it's because financial companies, real estate corporations buy up all the housing and charge obscene amounts to inflate the value. When I tell people being a capitalist means making money off of off thing you own instead of work you do, landlords aren't the example I point to.
No, that's exactly it. How all these passive income guys, what is the ultimate dream is to own an apartment complex that you can be a slumlord on and make easy money. And it's wild. TikTok, David and I did some on Left Reckoning of landlord TikTok and guys just talking about, how they will charge late fees to certain tenants and just the entrapment and just the shabby nickel and diming of people basically so these guys can earn millions of dollars a year and feel superior to everyone.
And eventually they can be Jared Kushner. I mean, that's he's the prime example.
The wealthiest slumlord in the United States, arguably.
And I think the message is I am not here if I was talking to Fox News and this woman, or PBD, for instance, I'm not here to appeal to people who pay for their lives by buying and selling stuff that other people produce. I am here for the people that actually build the things and move the things and do the actual work. I think it's really sick that so much. I'm not going to get into the different investor stuff, but go ahead, Brandon.
I think that your point is well taken, and because this language has been robbed from people like her, and that's why they can put her on Fox News and show her as a face of someone who, she's legitimately suffering, and then pivot towards contextualizing that with there are too many migrants in this country. There are too many Asians at Harvard who are taking spots away from your kid. There are too many affirmative action hires at the kind of jobs that your kid needs to be paid this. There are too many, illegal immigrants flooding houses and squatting, and landlords just can't get rid of tenants who have rent control. So that's why they're jacking up the prices for everybody else. For a populace that has had the language of labor and organized labor and capitalism robbed for them, it's easy-ish up until a certain point to take these kinds of complaints and just correlate them with the minorities that they are going to be noticing in their vicinity more, and just have that be the problem. And that's like Fox News is one trick, but I think that when they go super esoteric and start just complaining about like trans issues all the time, or when they are letting people like fall into deprivation for so long, it just becomes impossible to pull the wool over their eyes forever.
Yeah, I mean, that makes like the media here, Fox News, but also the liberal press that also can elaborate this basically class dynamic here is responsible for all the people turning to QAnon. Like, this is not an individual media, like people need to do better and learn more and be smarter. This is the mainstream media that everyone relies on to inform themselves about the world cannot say that capitalists are basically sucking the blood out of your life and making you have to work more for less, and you see death coming and you're not going to have as much time with your family. You're not going to, and they can't say that. Like this is why we still get stuff about like everyone needs to show more awareness about like a health product like in mental health that is price discriminated against from people. Like, we cannot elaborate this. So of course this woman's going to say, yeah, something happened, and then it's because like we can't elaborate what actually is happening, which is that we're all being robbed and we're all being held hostage by people who own stuff. We're going to get just people descending into madness.
Well, I mean, not to go on for a long time, but I think that's an important part of why like the coverage of conspiracies in mainstream media tend to be like incomplete, because they fail to recognize that for the most part, conspiracies take purchase in people's heads when there's a lack of compelling narratives to actually explain what they're observing in the world around them. That's not to say that every person who believes that reptiles are secretly controlling the government has some sort of real deep, critique of the government that they're waiting to hear. But for the most part, we see all of these people in our society turning to not just like QAnon, but various types of fringe conspiracies, both politically motivated or politically concerned, all the way to like completely apolitical, at least at the surface level.
Yeah,
and the entry point, and they tend to go down to all to the same place, which is like anti-Semitic Illuminati stuff. But
it's the socialism of fools in the sense where they don't have the class consciousness to beat that back.
Exactly. And so there are just so many different types of like grifters in our society who see people who just lack an ability to contextualize properly why they're suffering, and use that like silence, or that like the silence that's enforced by our government and our media around like capitalist class to put in narratives about like aliens, or put in narratives about like minorities, and they're all the same level of conspiracy, but we treat some like on the right as though they're legitimate. Like, you can have a legitimate conversation about whether or not the influx of migrants is what's preventing your son from like being able to afford a 1-bedroom apartment, when that just can't be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what J.D. Vance was arguing recently. I mean, I know we're going on a lot, but he's like,
no,
it's immigrants. It's not the landlords that I'm taking money from that like that there is housing shortage, so they can drive up rents on shit that they barely improved.
Well, that's the oldest trick in
exactly,
the book.
But again, like, our media can't elaborate. That's what's happening. So it's, of course, the immigrants get the blame.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, again, we're going on for a super long time, but there's like another side to this conspiracy, because they want people to think that they can be landlords too in this way. Like, this is part of like the other side of that scam. Like, you want to be a landlord too. You want to be one of those people who's buying up the empty rental units in your apartment building, or the empty sort of homes in your suburban neighborhood, and flipping them, because we have too many houses for the amount of people who can afford to live in them. Every house in the neighborhood can't be worth like $1 million, because we just don't give $1 million loans to everyone who needs a home. And so like this idea of like, you should be aiming for this passive income lifestyle, and like, you don't just need one home. Everyone who can afford a home needs to buy 3 or 4 is just like grotesque, because at the end of the day, we get to the point that we're at now, where like the real estate bubble is going to blow up, and all these people who are like juggling 5 or 6 mortgages trying to like flip houses or do like Airbnb scams are going to just have to like sell at a loss to lose a bunch of money. And then like we have more consolidation in the rental market under like a rental conglomerate like Blackstone.
Well, venture capitalists are gonna begin to buy that stuff up, which they already do. And there's a commercial real estate bubble as well, because so much of the commercial real estate is also concentrated in the hands of some of these specific capitalists. So eventually, once that bubble bursts, and it's going to, given the interest rates that we're seeing right now over, like, I mean, I was just looking at a house on Realtor.com just to see what it would be to, like, for a monthly payment. It's insane.
Yeah.
The interest rates are as high as they've been in 2 decades. So yeah, this is the systemic depressing half. But it's
I don't know that it's so depressing. Like, I think this rising aware, like, there's an interesting quote from Orwell when he's writing during, like, the like, maybe it's the Spanish Civil War, World War II, but he's like, but in the lead up to, like, basically when the Brits did the NHS, it was a rise in consciousness that their rentiers in society were taking everything and impoverishing society. And he says a quote, like, in the early 20s, like 1 million people knew this, and by the end of the 20s, like half the country knew it. And I think, like,
labor summer contributing.
Exactly. We have all this union stuff, which is, I think, as clear as it's been in my life, like that you have all different varieties of whether it's truck drivers or, John Hamm, like, it's the same struggle, because what that woman said, what she said is, I feel like there's no more classes anymore. Well, like that echoes what Marx said again, like in the Communist Manifesto, that it's becoming proletarians and capitalists. And unfortunately, not quite the case, but that dynamic is the one that I think ultimately leads to this sort of, I guess, maybe revolutionary possibility.
Yeah. I mean, it is still, though, the divide between the people that own the means of production and the people that can make passive income and everybody else.
Yeah, same as it ever was.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's the people who own Bitcoin and the people who don't. That's going to be the real classes of the future.